So who is David Goggins? Well, on paper, he's a retired Navy SEAL, an elite endurance athlete, even a former world record holder for pull-ups. But honestly, that's just the resume. To really understand the man, you have to understand the fire that forged him. So let's dive in.
This quote, it just cuts right to the heart of Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me. His entire message is that our biggest enemy isn't some person or some obstacle out there in the world. Nope, it's that little voice inside our own head, the one that's always begging us to quit, to take the easy way out. And his challenge to all of us, it's time to go to war with yourself.
To really get a grip on the mental tools that Goggins created, you first have to understand the hell that made him. And this isn't just some sad backstory, it's the actual foundation for his entire philosophy on life.
Look, Goggins' childhood wasn't just tough. It was a non-stop nightmare. We're talking horrific physical abuse from his father, forced labor, and just constant psychological terror. And school, it was supposed to be a safe place, but for him, it became another torture chamber, where he had to deal with relentless racism, all while battling a stutter brought on by all the stress.
So you have to ask yourself, how does a kid even survive that? Well, instead of letting fear just swallow him whole, Goggins found a different kind of fuel. He talks about this total shift in his mind where it was no longer about faith over fear, it was about hate over fear. Now, this wasn't just blind anger. It was a conscious decision to take a destructive emotion and turn it into a source of power. It became his first real weapon.
That defiance, it helped him survive, for sure. But for years after he escaped his father, Goggins just ran from his past. He cheated through school, bombed military entrance exams, and pretty much just let life happen to him. He ended up weighing nearly 300 pounds, working as a cockroach exterminator, and he just hit rock bottom. And it was right there, at his lowest point, that he decided to stop running and created his very first mental tool.
He calls it the accountability mirror. And let me be clear, this is not about looking in the mirror and chanting positive affirmations. It's the exact opposite. It's about tearing yourself down to your foundation, telling yourself the raw, unfiltered, ugly truth about who you are and why you're failing. It's a tool for taking absolute, no compromises ownership of your life.
And the process itself, it's gut-wrenchingly simple. You stand in front of that mirror, you call yourself out on all your own lies and all your excuses. Then, you write down your goals, not your dreams, but real, actionable goals on Post-it notes, and you stick them right on that mirror. And then, every single day, you have to face that person in the mirror and hold yourself accountable to those notes. No hiding.
And the results? I mean, they speak for themselves. On the left side of this slide, you see the statistic he was on track to become: overweight, underachieving, living a total lie. And on the right, that's the man he forged, all starting with that one brutal conversation in the mirror. That accountability mirror was the spark that lit this unbelievable fire of transformation.
Okay, so the accountability mirror got him started. But now let's get into the core of his philosophy and see how he builds this into a whole set of powerful mental tools for pushing past pain and what we think are our limits. He calls this whole process callusing the mind.
All right, I want you to picture this. You're at your absolute limit. Every muscle is screaming, your lungs are burning, and your brain is just begging you to stop. Well, according to Goggins, you're not done. You're not even close. You're actually only here at just 40% of what you're truly capable of.
This is the 40% rule. He describes it as a kind of mental governor, like the one on a car that limits its top speed. Our brain's number one job is comfort and survival, so it sends out those quit signals way before our body is actually spent. The real key to unlocking our potential is learning how to override that governor.
So that's the big question, right? When you hit that 40% wall and every single fiber of your being is telling you to just stop, where do you find the fuel to keep going? What tool do you actually use to get to that other 60%?
And this is where Goggins introduces maybe his most famous tool, the cookie jar. But this isn't about rewarding yourself with a treat. It's about remembering every single time you've ever pushed through something hard, every obstacle you've climbed over, every victory you've earned. So when the pain is at its absolute worst, you mentally reach into that jar, pull out a cookie, a memory of your own strength, and remind yourself what you're really made of. Now, what's so fascinating is when you see what's actually in his cookie jar. He takes the absolute darkest moments of his life, the abuse, the racism, the failures, and he reframes them. He turns them into victories. He literally weaponizes his past trauma. This is that whole hate over fear idea coming full circle. It's not just about raw defiance anymore. It's about transforming pain into a sustainable source of fuel.
In all of this, it brings us to the ultimate point of Goggins' philosophy. The goal isn't to become him. It's to stop living a life so comfortable that you never discover what's truly possible for yourself.
This quote says it all. This isn't about reaching one big goal and then kicking your feet up. It's a relentless, never-ending process. The second you achieve something, you're already looking for the next limit to push against. You are constantly redefining what done actually means.
The key takeaway here is this paradox. Goggins found a sense of peace by accepting the brutal truths of his life and who he was, but that peace is paired with a complete and total refusal to ever be satisfied. The idea is that you can accept who you are, right now, in this moment, while still demanding more from yourself tomorrow.
And in the end, Goggins leaves all of us with this. It's a question he asks himself before every impossible challenge he takes on. But more importantly, it's the question he turns back on all of us. What if you stopped listening to that voice that tells you to quit? What if you found out what was on the other side of suffering? What if?